it is rare that we get a report, I mean, particularly about emergency service responses, which are as damning as this. What did you make of it?
Well, quite accurate. And everything went wrong. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. But there does need to be some balance here, I think. And what you had actually was a logjam in the system. You know, there were plans in place. The police knew, and the emergency services knew what they should have to do. But if you then put a stopping point in it, where no one has declared the area safe, then you wouldn't necessarily send people into something that is not safe. So I'll give you an example. The Bataclan in Paris, if they'd sent the paramedics and the fire brigade in to rescue people there, they would have all been killed. They would have all been killed by people with machine guns. So what happened was really bad, and it's inexcusable, but it does come down to not necessarily the system being wrong, but use of the system.
Somebody's judgment, really.
Or lack of making decisions.
We saw it in one of the school shootings in America, didn't we? Where and it was on video. The police, there were children suffering, terrified, needed to be got out, and the policemen were just hanging back.
Yeah. And it is a difficult call to send people into a very dangerous situation. But, of course, that's what emergency services do, and then that's their job. But there is an offside to that, to say, well, you don't want to send people in just to be killed. But don't get me wrong, this was a complete disaster from everyone, actually, right through from the arena itself, right through the security teams and the emergency services. None of them come out well in any of these.
And yet,
I was going to say we've got to be careful with hindsight, though, don't we? I mean, Liz Kershaw was saying earlier on, we've got all this footage of the bomber, walking through Victoria Station and all the. But, as a man with a backpack, at what point do you... It's easy now to say, well, there's the bomber.
Of course.
At what point does somebody like that raise suspicion?
Yeah, and I think this is the piece. And I think that one of the big areas here for everyone, businesses and emergency services, is complacency. Listen, at that time, there was a wave of terrorism happening across Europe. It wasn't, just the odd one. There were a series of terrorist attacks. And there were people that thought this man was suspicious, and not enough was done about that. And that's one of the areas that really we need to work on. And that's for the public to make sure that they are aware of people who are acting suspiciously, look out of place, and then for them to report that, and then something physically actually happens as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, after the 7/7 bomb attacks in London, they said lessons will be learned, and the chairman of this inquiry in Manchester said yesterday lessons weren't learned. It's a phrase that is just patted out, isn't it? Lessons will be learned, mistakes won't be made again, and yet they are.
Well, lessons were learned in as much as there was a system in place, and actually in Manchester, 12 months before this actual terrorist attack, there was a practice incident. You may remember that they used the phrase Allahu Akbar and everyone was up in arms about it. So the GMP, the Manchester police, actually practiced for a terrorist attack of this very nature. So lessons were learned, the system was in place. But then if someone doesn't make the right decision, then those plans go awry, and that's, I think, what's happened here.
Is this